territories. And as always, Jack Lord is with us and Rodney West, and we will be talking professional wrestling, World Championship Wrestling. Watch it. Watch it.
That is exactly what you do. You watch it, watch it, watch it. That's what you do. Even when you're in the audience, you watch it, watch it, watch it. Because that's
I have missed Nikita Koloff and his Russian sickle on David Crockett.
Well, we finally got it back tonight.
Okay, Rodney, World Championship Wrestling, August 10th, 1985. World Championship Wrestling as seen on WTBS. Take it away.
They open up the program with the now former United States champion Magnum TA, because now Tully Blanchard is the new U.S. champion, and Baby Doll is back with Tully Blanchard as well. Dusty Rhodes is along with him. America's team talking about the Ole and Arn Anderson. And, of course, Dusty and Magnum T on top of their game in that one. Then we end up with match number 1 of Ron Bass making a turn. If you remember, we didn't get to see it on here, but Ron Bass and Buddy Landell has a difference of opinion, because Buddy says he doesn't like Ron Bass around because he cramps his style. And Ron Bass cramps most people's style, I have to admit. Yeah. In the match is Ron Bass versus Gerald Finley in this one. What did you think about it, Brent?
I thought it was a good match. I think it was one of Ron Bass's best matches. I think it really was, because it was quick and to the point. I enjoyed it, but people are still booing him. Did the people in Atlanta not know that he was the good guy yet?
I don't think that was so apparent.
The way that it was done was in no way, shape, or form to get sympathy. It was just a disagreement of Landell saying a derogatory remark about him. And now he's going to go against the national champion, Black Bart. That's what he's going for. And, of course,
let me ask you this question. Did Black Bart not cramp his style?
No, because they apparently went to the same wrestling school together.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I could be wrong about that.
Plus, you never wanted to get in a verbal debate with Black Bart because you would drown.
That's right. In the end, it's Ron Bass winning with the claw, the iron claw, as I think they called it. And, of course, the match was much better. Interview with Jim Crockett, president of Jim Crockett Promotions, and he's talking about the championship series. And today on the program, the U.S. champion, new champion, Tully Blanchard defending against Terry Taylor. And, of course, upcoming matches with Magnum TA. Also, for next week, the World Tag Team titles go on the line as the Rock and Roll Express defends against the Rising Sun, managed by James J. Dillon. And, of course, that will come up. Of course, then they have an interview with James J. Dillon, always a class act about the Rock and Roll Express and their chance with the Rising Sun with the World Tag Team titles on the line. Michael Barr says Ron Bass cramps his own style. Okay, now, Championship Wrestling Championship Series continues. The U.S. Championship on the line. The new champion, Tully Blanchard, defending the title against Terry Taylor. And, of course, Baby Doll is back with Tully Blanchard in this one. Jack, what do you think about this one?
Oh, man. This was a good match. Really good. And Baby Doll, wow.
This match showed, I think, that how good Tully Blanchard is and how well he produces the match, puts together the match, and just on the fly, not in the dressing room, just on the fly, just listening to the fans react. And Terry Taylor, he may not have been able to do the interview, but let me tell you, he was able to get out there and wrestle. There ain't no doubt about that.
Yep.
I thought the match was tremendous. I thought this match was just probably one of the best matches I think I've seen on World Championship Wrestling so far.
Yep. I agree with that.
I absolutely agree with that as well. In the end, it's Terry Taylor down the left to the wire, putting on the figure 4 on Tully Blanchard. Baby Doll in the ring, but apparently the ring, I didn't hear the bell, but she was standing in the middle of the ring at this point, jumping on Terry Taylor, is distracted. Tully Blanchard attacks, gets him the slingshot suplex at the end, leaves him laying. I like it when it happens like that, especially to Terry Taylor.
Did the time limit, they have the time limit on the TV title. Did the time limit run out? I think that's what happened, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, well, they that officially they said the time limit, it was a time limit draw. And of course, the still U.S. champion is Tully Blanchard. Interview with Ole and Arn Anderson, the national tag team champions, talking about Magnum TA and Sam Houston. They hurt Sam Houston. I wish we could have seen that. That would have been fantastic. Yep. I don't think I remember singing that. And then, of course, talking about Dusty Rhodes and, of course, the long-time feud with the Andersons and Dusty Rhodes and then this situation as well. What did you think about it, Brent?
Arn did a great interview because he said, I told you twice, Magnum TA. I told you twice not to be by yourself. So it's on you what happened to you. I thought that was great Anderson stuff. And then Ole. Yep. Ole is just he was
on fire. Ole was on fire. And for whatever reason, and here comes another Anderson, he says, and Ric Flair comes out and takes over the interview. And I guess Ole says, well, if you don't want to talk to us anymore, we'll just leave. Forget you. And left Ric Flair out there. Flair talked about Harley Race, who's in the ring, the Missouri State champion at the time, and Nikita Koloff, and he runs down the whole gauntlet as they head to the ring with match number 3, a Missouri State champion, Harley Race against Jim Jeffers. Jack, what was going on here?
It was a short match. It just proved, how tough Harley was, especially since he had to struggle to get that suplex in. But but it proved the point that Harley's the man.
But I like that. I thought that was spectacular that he goes and picks him up. He can't get him, so he goes to pick him up again. I thought that put a little bit of that reality into it. So that kind of stuff would happen. It wasn't as fluid as Sid Vicious. I hate to say anything that he says is correct, but he said what's wrong with wrestling today. It is too written, too right. Back then, and I think that just came over with such a reality-based wrestling, which was great.
And the question is here: did you notice how Tony was talking about how Harley Race? It just seemed strange with him not being the world champion. It's how many years he had been world champion. Then all of a sudden, in for the rescue! Here comes David Crockett, but Ric Flair is the world champion. I love that. Then I think the best interview of the entire show, Paul Jones, Abdullah the Butcher, the Barbarian. Not sure what was going on, Brent, but it seemed like that Tony was being picked on by the Barbarian. What did you think?
Yeah. At one point, what did he do? Did he spit on him? Because he certainly acted like he did.
All I kept seeing, he kept bumping into him. And he kept, every time he would talk and move, he would move closer. And he was like moving in on him. He kept looking back, kept bumping into him. That's what I noticed.
And Abdullah eats his tie, and Tony Schiavone says, "Hey, that's a new tie,
brand new tie."
Tony was great. He was really, really good. Like I said, and then Paul Jones talking about Jimmy Valiant. I don't know if you're watching the fonts or the promos of where they're going to be for the week that are coming up. I noticed that they were in a lot of places like Lexington, Kentucky, which I'm assuming, since they were saying a defense by Ric Flair, must have been against Harley Race. Against Jerry Lawler. But if you'll notice, they go to Pensacola, and this is the beginning of Jim Crockett's turn on every single person that was a member of the National Wrestling Alliance. Every last one of them.
But they ran that card down for Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah. And I don't remember Jerry Lawler being on that card.
He was not. They said that then Ric Flair would defend the World Heavyweight Championship, but he never did really say who he was going to defend. I just assumed that they said, well, we'll let you have one guy on the card, and it was probably just Lawler because everybody else was their people. Yeah. So that was one of those things. You're either with us or so what? We don't care. And that's the way it was. Like I said, this is the beginning of when World Class starts pulling out, Continental pulls out, or they don't pull out. They just had the world champion taken from them. That's just bottom line there. That match number 4, Brody Chase against Nikita Koloff with Ivan Koloff in the corner. Jack, what did you think about this one?
I thought I was glad I wasn't the one taking that clothesline. It was good. It's a good match. Nikita does not have bad matches.
Yeah.
If he has, I've not seen one yet. He was just so good at what he did, and to be so young in the business is what amazes me. Every time I look back and see the stuff that he did, and had he not, and I understand why he left the business at the time that he did, because his wife was so sick, but I just feel like that would have been one of those guys that they would have pushed at the very top for a good while.
Yeah, Nikita, spectacular. And, I didn't. This is at the time I didn't know Nikita was as good as he is, but I go back and watch it now.
Yep.
He's just so good. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's because people today are so bad. Maybe that's.
You said it.
You watched Raw too, huh? Okay.
You said it. All right. So after the match is the interview with Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff about Ric Flair. In upcoming matches, of course, again, they announced the championship series for next week. Rock and Roll Express gets a Rising Sun for the World Tag Team Championship. And then match number 5, it is the Rock and Roll Express against Keith Eric and Alan Martin. Cornette's at the desk. What did you think about this one, Brett?
Well, now, I'll be honest with you. I frontwards it up to the end of the match.
Was it a surprise?
I just did. It had nothing to do with the match was better. Nothing. I just did. But I'm going to tell you something. That drop kick at the end of that was a brutal drop kick this time. Yeah, they didn't get that poor. It was Keith Eric got the double drop kick.
Eric got it. Yeah,
they got him good in the chest with that. Both of them did with that drop kick. Go back and watch that in slow mo.
Yeah, well, they got it from the right angle this time, I must say. I'll just tell you, Cornette was talking about their matches coming up, the Midnight Express against the Rock and Roll Express. That's coming up in the arenas. And I'm with y'all. I don't think they should have taken it from the position that they had never seen each other.
Yeah,
I think that was insulting. Because we got five states that had Mid-South Wrestling, and to act like that, well, none of that ever happened is, I think, ridiculous.
Well, we've talked about this before. When you do that, now you've got 5 states that go, well, wait a minute now. So now you've smartened up 5 states what wrestling is. Right. When if you would have just said they wrestled each other, had a big feud in Mid-South, it would have been a whole lot better. Plus the fact they go right back and do the same thing they did in Mid-South Wrestling, where Jim Cornette gets his face put in a cake. I don't think it was Rock and Roll that did it, but that smartens up the fans too. People can get mad at Vince McMahon all they want, but they were doing stuff just as bad at that point in time that could hurt the wrestling business as well. You shouldn't have been doing that stuff. And Jim Cornette talks about how bad wrestling is today. He should have stepped in and said, "No, we're not doing that again. We just did that."
They were doing that like they were still a territory system. Yeah, with that mindset, which worked in the territory system. Yeah. But now you're on a national stage, and you can't be doing the same things over and over again. At least without, like you said, acknowledging what came before. Because I don't care what you want to say, fans aren't stupid.
No.
And you should never treat them as such. And I think I would have easily have said, you know what, I've got a little video I like to show, and it would have been that with the straight jacket. I would have showed that. Said, and this is what we do to the Rock and Roll Express. And because Mid-South really showed nothing of any of that as far as the payoff, the blow-offs. They never showed any of it, which is always good business, by the way. Always good business. In the end, at the last of this, Black Bart and James J. Dillon close the program. A new national heavyweight belt. All of them not looking well now. It looks like a different color of the World Television belt. But anyway, that's beside the point. Black Bart has a new national belt. Talking about Ronnie Bass. Talking about that Ronnie Bass on there. And that closed out the program, World Championship Wrestling.
I love Rick Harris to death, but if you've heard one of his interviews, you've heard him. All you got to do is a different name in there.
He talked about Ronnie Bass, and he talked about Terry Taylor.
James J. Dillon was doing a great job at the interview, and he interrupted him. As assistant booker, I would have erased his name. He interrupted me. He would have been in the Florida territory.
If you know, honestly, all Dylan at that point was doing, you could tell he was the one putting the. He's got the TV. He's the one coordinated. He's just out there long enough to do what he needs to do. Throw it to the other guy, let him do the talk, and then back in the back to run the show again. Dusty's there. I'm not saying that Dusty's not helping put the show together, but James J. Dillon is the one organizing it.
Hey, now remember,
it's supposed to be.
Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA had to fly out. That's what they told you at the beginning of this. By the way, I think it was the morning show that's on this video. They had the guy from the Atlanta Braves on there. Did y'all see this?
Yep.
And I think they came there that morning to go, listen, there's only one American team, and that's the Braves. And kind of awesome a little bit on that show that Dusty and Magnum TA were the American team as well. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to point out before we got off here was that if you've watched this and you watch the for the air date, the first hour is the morning show, and the morning show that's on this same episode was tremendous. It was some of the best stuff I can remember seeing from them. So this, you get two completely separate shows, more or less, but man, it was good from start to finish. And I absolutely go back and watch that first hour. We're not talking about it per se, but go back and watch that first hour. If nothing else, listen to Jim Cornette's commentary during the Midnight Express match. It was the funniest stuff. They're in there doing serious stuff, but Cornette's putting comedy in there where it worked.
But now let's remember, though, when Cornette speaks, he never did comedy in his stuff.
Jimmy lied just a little bit.
All right, we will look at World Championship Wrestling again the next episode. Now, I have not looked and seen what shows are available. I don't know if the 17th is available or not. It could or could not be, but if not, we'll move on to the next show, whatever that is, on the World Championship Wrestling. And if you're watching us, give us that big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, are we ready to go to the Insiders?
Let's knock them out. Let's give them the Nikita clothesline.
All right, Richard Hood. Good evening, fellows.
Hey,
Hello, Richard. Michael Barr is with us. Mimi Barboza.
There you go.
That's a name right there.
A good
Mimi
name.
Barboza. That's
Mindy. I sent her a link before every show so she can do her homework.
Hello, good evening, gentlemen. Hello to you, Mimi. Glenn Allen Shelton, good evening. Mike Schaefer watching right there on our YouTube channel. Good evening, guys. Ron Bass cramps his own style. Rodney was saying. Thanks for the reminder, Jack. I do not want to drown. Daryl Glass with us. Good evening, Daryl. Victor Nash is with us as well. Good evening. Michael Barr said no one slid out of the ring through the middle ring ropes.
No, not on that one. Taylor and Blanchard knows what they're doing. So
yeah.
No problem there.
Kevin said, hey, guys, with the TV expansion and territory expansion, would have Fritz Von Erich went national before Vince? Well, he actually did go national before Vince. He was actually syndicated. He was really the first syndicated television wrestling show. I remember watching it in Atlanta in, 1981, Rodney?
Right. Gary Hart was doing the booking, and he and I forgot the guy. He was H&H Associates. Bundy was there. Kabuki was there. The Magic Dragon. Let's see. Wild Bill Irwin.
Magic Dragon, for those people who don't know, also was the Great Kabuki, and a lot of those places that you thought was the Great Kabuki was the Magic Dragon. Had two Kabukis running Atlanta most of the time. Most of the time it was the Magic Dragon most of the time. So,
yeah, the Von Erichs had a real presence in the Middle East during this time, too, and did a lot of tours over there. Kevin Von Erich is still voted the most popular professional wrestler in Israel. Wow. So,
There was an interview that
they went places.
I remember seeing an interview with Kevin. Fritz absolutely refused to run against anybody inside the National Wrestling Alliance. He would go to Israel, but the guys there at the time, the guy was booking it. I forgot his name at this point, but they were all wanting to go and start running all the other towns. He said, "I'm not going to abandon where I made my business."
Ken Mantell.
Ken Mantell, yeah, he was one to do it. In fact, the very idea that they had ended up Bill Watts doing it and paying the price for it eventually.
Yeah, but I do believe Fritz at the time that he could have went anywhere.
He could have.
He threw money anywhere he went during that time.
Yeah,
chose not to, but he could have. Glenn Allen said, "Love the Missouri belt." Hey, I noticed that Harley Race didn't have that belt with him.
I noticed that
off by the time.
No, well, I don't know if he even had it. It didn't seem like it. There was nobody coming up there to get the belt.
Dusty said, "I made a mistake," and Ellie said, "The mistake you made was coming out here by yourself." And I thought Ole was good in that because he said, "We're waiting for you, Dusty, to mess up." I thought that was really good. And you be by yourself. That just Ole was. No matter what you want to say about Ole Anderson, he was tremendous.
Yeah,
it was tremendous.
And it was good to see him back that way. We'd already been through he and Gordon doing the comedy act with the short ties and all that. That was nonsense. Shouldn't have done it in the first place. But now it was good to see him back in where he should be.
Wrestling back during that time was more hardcore, and it got the fans more intense in watching. Yeah, it was reality. You believe?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. The blonde lady in the blue sitting on the front row, I'm not sure what her problem was, but she was almost sitting in the guy's next to her lap the entire match. I'm not sure if you noticed that.
Yes, I did.
She was trying to get him to pay more attention to her than the matches, but he was having none of it, as you know.
I think he was like giving her the elbow, like, "Get away from me.
Get away out of the way. I'm trying to watch back."
I don't know what was going on there. I did watch it, though. I was intensely watching them during the match, though.
You kind of wonder, what is she doing?
Because somebody
she tried to give him a kiss on the cheek a few times, and he kind of veered away there. Like, I'm on national TV here, can't you see?
But I'm thinking somebody out there was watching and going, at any moment, something's going down over here. This thing. So we better watch this.
That's right. Little action, front row action we're going to have.
Kevin Barkwell said Arn Anderson was so great at selling an angle on the mic. I thought he was the best on the mic as a horseman. No disrespect to Ric Flair. Arn was good.
Yeah.
Arn had that different type of interview. He didn't do it like everyone else did. And it just got over. And when he talked, you just wanted to hear what he had to say.
Yeah, the way he did interviews, the same way Bill Eadie always told me is, if everybody else is talking loud, you talk low. If they're rushing about stuff and making guarantees, you just state the facts. And that's what Arn did. Flair was great. Flair was fantastic, but Flair was always a little over the top. To some extent, a little theatrical in what he, the way he presented everything. Arn's just straight. You knew if you ran into him in a dark alley and he starts telling you he's going to whoop your butt, he's going to whoop your butt.
Exactly. John DeGarmo said, "Love and respect your insight, Bomber Jack."
Dr. John DeGarmo. Let me tell you who he is real quick. He is one of the world's foremost experts in the field of adoption. And he has done a lot of interviews with CNN, just news agencies all over the world, trying to further the message about adoption and taking care of kids, that are homeless. And he was my manager for a brief period of time for his TV over in Atlanta that we did. And I love that guy. Thanks, John, for tuning in.
Richard Hood's Abdullah came back to Croc in '88 when Gary Hart and ate the podium. Oh, Abdullah. He was a character, no doubt. Michael Barr said those matches when there were a tag team match, when the partner went to tag his partner, the partner jumps down out of the ring and walks away and turns on him. I like those angles. They are good angles unless you overdo it.
Yeah.
I've seen that be overdone in its time. You know, you can do that once in the blue moon, but boy, if you keep on doing that, because turning people your territory if you turn too many people. Because nobody will get behind anybody. Well, he'll just turn. Why should I like him? He'll just turn on.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
John said Nikita was good, but he was no Jack Lord.
Well, I did stiff a few people
Jack
with clotheslines.
Michael Barr, people are so bad. You said it right, Brent. Just do not mess up the show. Dr. Phil Bowgrass said, "Oh, professors, enlighten me today. I await your wisdom." Well, you may be waiting a long time. What happened to Alan Martin, Jack?
He's actually commented on the thread here. Alan is retired, rides his bike, and rides a recliner almost as well as I do now. Love
Alan Martin. He was one of the best. Didn't care what he did, when he did it, and how he did it. He just wanted to be a wrestler.
Yep.
Kevin said he lives close to me, and I've seen him around town.
Yep.
Glenn Allen Shelton, what Vince done all the time? What they do all the time now is comedy in wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking about when wrestlers got there, they forgot they ever wrestled anybody else. So it was
I'm having a lot of trouble trying to get sound. Is anyone else having problems with sound?
I think he's the only one I've seen comment, and that's probably with your internet. Anytime that we're having issues, if everybody's not having them, then it's your individual internet system that's buffering.
Yeah, I don't think someone else has told us about it. Greg Hickey over there on YouTube. Good evening, guys. Good evening to you. Glenn Allen said, "Mr. R&R and the Fantastics." You know, to me, the Fantastics had better matches with the Midnight Express than the Rock and Roll.
Yeah, I have said this before. Anybody that hasn't watched the first Clash of Champions, I think it's the second match, is the Fantastics against the Midnight Express. Probably, in my opinion, the greatest tag team match I have ever seen.
You know, we wanted in Mid-South Wrestling, we wanted the Fantastics to turn heel on the Rock and Roll Express. Could you imagine those matches?
Wow.
Those matches have been so good. We tried so hard to get them to do it. We tried so hard. We said, that is the next big thing here.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And it really would have been, because it would have made a lot of sense, because Rock and Roll comes right in. Fantastics are basically dropped down and put in their spot against the Midnight, and that would have been the clinch pin, if you will, to begin to start the angle.
I think Michael Barr helped Victor get his sound going, or at least he just finally got some sound. Glenn said, "I think done it with both versions of the Midnight Express." I believe they did. Yes, I believe that has been done. The cake thing, this is the thing when you're talking about what's going on in wrestling today. Before you talk a lot about it, make sure you as a person didn't do the stuff that would have been crazy in comedy, what you're down in today. Yep. Just make sure of that, because some people will knock stuff and then they do, "Oh, I forgot I did that. I did that stupid thing," you know. So make sure it's really, honestly, after Dusty Rhodes got jumped in the parking lot, anytime it was done after that, it was more hokey every time they did it. Every time they did it. Daniel Lang said, when Jimmy Garvin left the AWA, Greg Gagne said he had knee surgery and would be out 6 months. Then he turned up nationally on TBS the next week.
He must have had a second opinion on that doctor.
Yes, that's true. Michael Barr, has anyone here seen a match that almost duplicated another match? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So many times.
Oh, man. We were in Morristown, Tennessee, Ain't no lie. We were there to USA Championship Wrestling. And folks, this will tell you why they didn't stay in business. But in Morristown, Tennessee, we was there 1 month, came back the very next month, and they had the same exact finishes. The same exact was no difference in them. Am I telling the truth?
You're exactly right. Dad had a fit, made everybody mad. Bob Hope, Bob, everybody. Dad just made everybody mad because he went back and said that was the same. Fill in the words there. Finishes we had and the fill in the word there. Town last time.
And that's the reason
why we don't fill in the word right there. We're not drawing. Fill in the word.
Go to our private channel and contribute. And still not going to say them, but we'll allude to.
It's the same word that begins with an F. So
it is so.
It was not a good night.
And let me just say this. There was a problem with USA Championship Wrestling, and this was pretty bad. This was part of the reason why they had a lot of the matches. They would run something, and the territory was so close. They'd run 15 miles down the road to do the same exact finishes. 15 miles down the road, and wonder why you wasn't drawing. Buddy Landau used to say, well, the 7-Eleven was open. And there was a truth into that because they just did not care at the time. They had $100,000 from Mellow Yellow. They were running until that money was gone. I truly believe that's the only reason they went in business. They got $100,000. Victor Nash, Jack, I see you got a cigar today.
Yeah, y'all guys were worried, so I broke one out.
Kevin Bentley said a Ric Flair match. Pick one.
Yeah.
Stuart Kemp said, hello, all.
Hey,
Dr. Oldcry said, Jack, your thoughts. Do you think being talented in storytelling can cover for not having great technique or physique?
Yes. If you know how to tell a story, you don't have to be a great wrestler.
I will give you an example. Ron Slinker.
Poor old Ron Slinker. You know, most people probably don't even know who Ron Slinker is. Well, talking about Alan Martin.
Hey, there's Alan.
There's
Alan Martin with us right now.
People were asking about you, Alan.
People want to know.
Let me tell you a real quick rib I did on Alan while we're talking to the fans. If anybody that doesn't know, I make wrestling tights, and I have for 35 years now. And Alan had ordered some tights for me one time, and I made them. They were just wild looking things, but the tie string was about this long. So every time he would wash them, he'd forget to tie them together, and the string would come out. So he had ordered another set, and he said, "Hey man, make the string a little bit longer." I said, "No problem." So we get in the dressing room, and Alan. In case you have never met Alan, he never shuts up. So he's talking and he's getting dressed at the same time, and he's not paying attention. And he pulls those tights up and he stands up, and the drawstring is puddled in the floor all the way around his feet. I mean, it's about 10 feet worth of tie string there. And he looks over at me, and I had some scissors in my hand, and I said, "You want me to trim them off for you?" And he said, "No." And he tied them up and stuffed all that inside his ties. And then he pulled them out during the match and choked Mike Jackson with them. So,
there you go. Hey,
I know when to use your gimmicks.
Right. That was beautiful.
Alan Martin, great wrestler, great person. No doubt.
Awesome.
Always liked Alan Martin. No doubt. Richard Hood said, Brent, it was 1982. Whatever I was talking about was 1982. And I don't remember what I was talking about. Richard Hood said, Channel 46. Victor Nash said, who was the first Kabuki or Kendo Nagasaki? Really, the first great Kabuki was a guy that was way back in that. And Gary Hart actually stole that and really used the original Kabuki the first time. And then that guy went back to Japan. And then he went and got the guy that he would see their Magic Dragon. Nobody knew the difference. You would have never knew the difference between
Kendo Nagasaki is also a gimmick that they got from a guy in England that did the gimmick. Yeah,
I was not a big fan of the Kendo Nagasaki because I thought it was just a ripoff of Kabuki, but because that wasn't he in Florida? Wasn't that where he wrestled mainly?
I
at?
believe so.
Yeah, and also worked in Mid-South. Kendo Nakasaki works in Mid-South too.
Daniel Lang said Arman Hassan was.
That is exactly right. That is exactly, and he was awesome. He was really good.
Glenn Allen said Geigel removed state belt 85 or 86. Victor Nash said Abdullah the Butcher eating Tony Schiavone's tie. Great stuff. Glenn Allen and Shelton, Arn would have been one to hold the world title. I agree.
Yep.
Again, Arn was the one that came up with the name Four Horsemen. Well, it was easy for them to do because they played that Four Horsemen thing on TBS. I think they played it every day.
Right.
It was on TBS for years.
Tomorrow afternoon, 3:05, right here on the Superstation, TBS.
Cleveland Barkwell, Cleveland.
Kevin. Kevin Cleveland Barkwell.
Sorry, Kevin. Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to call you Cleveland Barkwell. Why did Chick Donovan, I think you called him Chicago.
Yeah, he meant Chick.
Never receive a push. He had the look and ring skill, Jack.
He had pushes in a few of the territory areas. Honestly, I don't know why he didn't get a bigger push. Chick was good. Chick's still in the ring, 70-something years old, still in fantastic shape. So I really don't know. I really don't know why he didn't get that big of a push.
Rodney, what do you think?
Well, we've talked about it before. It's they get stuck in their typecast, I guess is what you would call it. In Georgia, they would always think he's just that old guy from Warner Robins or whatever, and they never think of him any more than what he was. Whereas he gone to Memphis and they did something great with him, and and it's sad, but that's it happened to a lot. It happened to a lot.
Kevin said he did mean Chick, but I kind of like the Chicago Donovan.
Chicago Donovan, I like.
Maybe Kevin, maybe, or Cleveland, whichever one you want to say your name. Chicago, he might have been able to get a push when he wasn't just Chick.
Chicago.
Did you actually spell? Somebody told me the other day I had Chick Donovan spelled wrong. Was it CHIK or was it CHIC?
CHIC, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, somebody told me I had it spelled wrong when
we'll have to look that up.
Well, depends on the newspaper.
Get in touch with Chick and ask how he spelled his name. Greg Hickey said Rowdy Roddy was healed, but he equaled Bullet Bob in the studio brawl when they finally got physical. That was so good.
Yeah.
So good. It just did not draw the money they thought it was. I mean, it still did like 8,000 people, but there's 17,000 people that can go to the Omni. So there was a whole lot more people. They just, I'm thinking Michael Hayes was right. They just didn't know that Roddy Piper was a wrestler.
Yeah.
They just thought he was a commentator.
Well, also, they were in a rebuilding process there. We'd had a lot of missteps before that even took place. The Freebirds walked out. And that didn't help anything. We had, 3-4 bookers in the process as well. So never really got long-term plan going. So I think that was part of it.
Glenn Allen said, no guys do hot shot at 15 miles away. You would think they would have learned, hey, by the way, we did this finish. We're in Sweetwater. We just did this finish in Athens last night. Maybe we shouldn't do that one again. But, that never crossed their mind. They were too busy thinking of the bar they're going to go to later on that night.
Yep.
I better not get in a soapbox tonight. Glenn said he did Texas. Michael Barr said Ron Slinker, never heard of him. Well, you're probably with a lot of other people.
Well, that's why we're here. We're educating you as you go along, Michael.
That's right. That's right. By the way, Alan Martin, Richard Hood said hello to you. Dennis Mitchell, I like Ron Slinker. I'm sorry, then, Dennis. We didn't mean to knock Ron Slinker. Well, we love Ron Slinker. I saw him wrestle Herb Calvert at the Montgomery Civic Center on July 3rd, 1979, on my 11th birthday. All right, Dennis, that shows You were 11 years old. You didn't know how bad he was. Just joking.
No, he liked Tim Brand. He liked Ron Slinker.
No, Ron was not. He was not bad.
Had to. I mean,
We just had a couple of incidents with him that just, I guess that we'll tell that story somewhere down the line. Victor Nash, another example of bad physique. Chris Jericho, but good storyteller. That's true. Glenn Allen said the world class went national in 1982. That's what he was talking about.
Got you.
Allen, I run into Gerald Finley from time to time. Leonard Groves, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone. Brent, I was talking about World Class Championship Wrestling. Most of the time, I don't remember what I spoke about 15 minutes ago. So you may have to let me know what I spoke about 15 minutes ago. And now I'd like to say that has something to do with getting older. But I was doing that when I was 20 years old. So Jack and Rodney can tell you this. So. Daniel Lang said, when Jimmy Hart got Chick Donovan to join his first family, they sang We Are Family.
that was awesome.
That was great. Jimmy Hart, though, man, what a tremendous wrestler. Manager he was. He made Memphis TV. Can you imagine Bob Armstrong going to hell in Atlanta on TBS? I would have loved to seen that. And I think he would have drew more money as a heel in Atlanta because he had been babyface that whole time. Can you imagine the money he would have drew if he would have turned on Tommy Rich in Atlanta? It would have been great. Guys, wasn't Ron Slinker a karate guy?
Yes, he was.
Yes, among other things. Michael Barr, I have heard of long, tall drink of water wrestlers. There's been a lot of those. Mike Rulerson, I think that's how we figured out how to say his name. What is going on, guys? Thank you so much, Mike, for seeing us on YouTube. And also, Happy New Year to you as well. Michael Barr said, Brant, you and your senior moments again. Well, I told you now, I was doing that when I was 20 years old. I'm always thinking about something and way ahead, and I forget what I'm doing. I'll try to forget what's happened in the past. Not everything I forget. I remember Ron Slinker. Victor Nash, who was the guy with the missing link, haircut, and saw your tag match that got slammed from the second rope? Yeah, who was this guy? Did y'all?
I don't know, but he was about 5 inches away from being a micro. This guy, I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing him anywhere.
Dr. Philbo Grice, would Kevin Owens be a good storyteller?
I think so. I like Kevin Owens. He's not the cookie cutter wrestler that they have up there of being the bodybuilder, and he's not a body guy. He's good in the ring, and he's good at telling a story in the ring.
Victor asked, whatever happened to Missing Link? I know he passed away.
Yep.
And Glenn Allen said that as well. One of the big tall wrestlers, Victor Nash, said Kendall Windham.
Yep.
And by the way, we do not have Mike's name right. So we won't even try to.
Let me try. Rollerson. How's that, Mike?
Let us know if that's true, Rollerson. And we'll get back.
And if I get it right, you owe me a cigar.
There you go.
All right, now let's talk about the pro wrestling territories. People kind of wonder, where did the territories all get started? Well, actually, it got started by the Gold Dust Trio. That was they really came up with tag team matches, return matches, being disqualified, rules. They came up with all of that. So they were the first people who actually hired wrestlers to wrestle for them full time, where they could do return matches. And they really created professional wrestling and created the territory, because they would run to, hey, by the way, Mike said, that is true. That's his name. You got it. So that's true. But that was the thing about that's where it started. But now, when it really got to be a organized deal, was when the National Wrestling Alliance started. When that began, territories took off, and there was like 45 different NWA territories at the time when it first started, and this was in the 1940s. When you look at the guys that were in the territories, I think that Eddie Graham's Championship Wrestling from Florida, Cowboy Luther was the guy that he bought it from. Eddie Graham, and I'll bring this to Rodney, he was probably one of the smartest promoters ever in professional wrestling. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And anybody that needed a finish, anybody that needed someone to take a look at what's going on, see what's not drawing, why we're not drawing, they always went to Eddie Graham. Always went to Eddie Graham. Then later on, Bill Watts became the fixer. If you had a problem, send him to 6 weeks of show. He'll fix your TV, and then you can go for 6 weeks, 3 months after he gets finished fixing what you messed up.
Jack, Championship Wrestling from Florida, it kind of set the standards for wrestlers. They would go there and learn from Eddie Graham, and Hiro Masuda would also train them as well. But when they would, by the time they left Florida, if they left Florida, Steve Keirn left Florida, he went to Georgia or he went somewhere, he was ready to wrestle for the rest of the territories.
Yeah, that was a proven ground for a lot of guys. I mean, the money was good. They expected a lot out of you, so you earned your money there. But they wanted you to learn. They weren't in the business of running guys out. They just wanted to get the best out of you. So, you're in Florida, so guys love being in Florida. You get that beach time, but you also get to sit under that learning tree and get good at your craft, so that when you left Florida, you could go anywhere.
And Eddie Graham was we talk about finishing. Eddie Graham, he had the step by step by step by step by step by step. Some finishes, as Dusty Rhodes said one time, you had to have a roadmap to know how to get there. That's how, and if you messed up one little thing, and Eddie Graham knew that you messed it up, he would get all over you, and it just had to be just a little time, because he was about timing. Eddie Graham was about timing, and he actually made sure the wrestlers had timing. And Dusty Rhodes, no matter what people want to say, he had that timing from Eddie Graham. And you can kind of see when you talk about Championship Wrestling from Florida, you can kind of see when Eddie Graham passes away. Rodney, you can see a territory, you could tell it was him that was the guy that made it, because
he was the one holding everything. He was the foundation for sure.
There was no foundation when he left. Even when Dusty was booking there for a while, Eddie was the guy that had the finishes. He was the one that had the ideals, and he would produce such a great show. And Eddie Graham teaches Bill Watts. Bill Watts goes to Mid-South. He books for the guy right now is
McGirt.
Leroy McGirt.
Yeah.
Right? He's booking for Leroy McGirt, and he has now remember, he comes from Championship Wrestling from Florida. He starts booking for Leroy McGirt. He learned everything he needed to learn from a man that knew how to do it. Now, Mid-South Wrestling was a little because I think it was Tri-States Championship Wrestling, wasn't it, Rodney?
Right.
As Leroy McGirt. Well, they finally do a split. Leroy McGirt keeps the Mississippi part of it, and also keeps the Oklahoma part of it. Bill Watts runs Mississippi. Runs Louisiana. Both territories are still doing well, but Bill Watts, his territory is doing a whole lot better. He actually buys Leroy McGirt out. How important was Mid-South Wrestling, Jack, to the expansion into national television?
It was big, because it was a quality product. Watts had the foresight. He wanted to be bigger. and he knew that in order to get there, he had to put out a better product, and he did that. Mid-South is a template for how wrestling shows should be run.
And he didn't do the same show everyone else was doing.
Right.
And that was, I think that was what made Mid-South Wrestling successful. Don't you, Rodney?
Yes, absolutely. Because we talked about it before. There was a lot on television that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And they talk about it a lot, but these mismatches were not. First of all, they're not interesting at all. They do not keep people's attention. In fact, Georgia was so bad. At one point, when we were recording, we were using cassette tapes, recording the video. This was before video players. We would sit there and we would cut out all the wrestling matches and only leave the interviews. In fact, we've got a drawer full of those cassette tapes here that we could play and that we've set and cut the matches out. They were so bad.
Yeah, because the matches were so boring. They really were. I mean, they actually were boring. And that's, as kids, we thought they were boring. And this was 1977, 78, 79. I mean, and I actually fell asleep a few times at the TV station while the matches were going on. But you look at Mid-South Wrestling, look at the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum TA, Terry Taylor, the Midnight Express, all the people that came from his territory that eventually would go to TBS, be national stars, and the money they would draw all over. But look at the stuff they learned from Bill Watts, and that helped. Learned a lot from Bill Watts.
You got to leave. You can't leave out the Junkyard Dog or the Freebirds. You can't leave them out of that.
Yeah.
And Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ted DiBiase, Steve Williams. I mean, so many people went from his territory to nationally, and I think that really, you think about it, Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan goes and becomes a huge star for WWF. So he really did build a lot of stars so Vince McMahon could go national and make millions and even billions of dollars. Another territory, and we're going to run out of time talking about territories, but another territory right there in the Florida area was Southeastern Championship Wrestling. Actually started by the Fields. It was probably started prior to that from other people, but the Fields mainly in the 60s and 70s. Then Ron Fuller bought it in sometime in 1978, maybe 1979. That's another territory, especially that Dothan area. That was, if people talk about, but Dothan, Alabama was drawing 5,000 people every Saturday night. And a lot of people don't realize this, but how well they were doing, even before Ron Fuller, Rodney, in the Fields was doing tremendous business.
Yeah, when it was Gulf Coast, we've talked about it before. Gulf Coast wrestling was huge, absolutely huge, and it spanned from Alabama, the Panhandle, all the way into Mississippi. Sometimes and at one time into Louisiana. That's how far they stretched the fields in the Gulf Coast wrestling.
And when Southeastern come along, they did great. Now, they didn't always do good business. See, now you have to be very careful of the territory days. You have to be very careful because you'll hear the older wrestlers say, oh, we were selling out every week. That was not the truth. That did not. Georgia Championship Wrestling went through bad times and it didn't draw. Southeastern, we were there, went through several bad times while we were there and didn't draw. So it didn't always draw. So no matter what people want to talk about in interviews, we were at Southeastern Wrestling. The first time we were there, man, that place was dead. It was not drawing. We was in Georgia Championship Wrestling from 1972 until 1983. And yes, it did good from like 74 until about 1980. And it just started tanking in 1980. Am I correct, Rodney?
No, it was awful. And well, we can go through the all the reasons. Kevin Sullivan and Mark Lewin and Austin Idol.
And the unspeakable name?
Yes, that too.
Georgia Championship Wrestling was another one of those territories that Jim Barnett took over in 1974. And when we talk about territories, it started out with Tom Ernesto booking for Ann Gunkel, and it finally went into when Jim Barnett came in, he put Bill Watts as the booker to begin with. I don't think him and Bill Watts got along very well. So then they bring in Jerry Jarrett. Jerry Jarrett makes a complete turnaround of Georgia Championship Wrestling. Draws a ton of money in Georgia. And then from there, I think Gary Hart may come back through there. And then I think Tom Ernesto came back and booked it for a while. And then it comes into Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson books it from 1976 to 1980. And I think at that point, they brought a couple different bookers in from 1980 to 1983. But Georgia Championship Wrestling, and Jack, you know it, you went to a lot of those matches. That's one of the places you wanted to go wrestle, was Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yep. Yeah, it was great, man. From a fan standpoint, from somebody that knew that he was going to wrestle one of those days, it was a standard for me.
And it was so sad by 1986, a lot of those places were out of business. Georgia Championship Wrestling went out of business in 1984. Didn't really go out of business. Vince McMahon bought it, and he basically put it out of business because he really didn't run any of the towns. He didn't really run Georgia. But Georgia was a great territory until they started running Ohio, and it killed Georgia pretty bad during that time, because they'd go on TV and that's all they talk about. But the same thing happened in other territories. You take Continental Championship Wrestling. When Knoxville started running, they talked about Knoxville all the time and just forgot that Dothan, Alabama existed, forgot that Birmingham existed, forgot Florence, Alabama, and everything that happened in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, people say, well, why'd I buy a ticket? I might as well drive to Knoxville, Tennessee to watch it. That's the only place anything's ever going to happen. But so many territories, and it would take us all night to talk about all the territories. We're talking 40. We're talking about Don Owen in Portland, Oregon. Did great business for years. Frizz Von Erich, World-Class Championship Wrestling.
Hunks and Amarillo.
And really one of the first territories, Toots Mont and Vince McMahon Sr., they ran the WWWL for years. It was called Capital Sports years ago, but I see that he's asking a question about that. But I think at some point we need to take every territory and kind of break it down: when it started, how it started, and why it failed.
We're leaving out one big one, Jim Crockett Sr., probably as far as I'm concerned, the top promoter ever. Just awesome, absolutely awesome promoter.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take in coming up soon. We'll take Championship Wrestling in Florida. We'll look at it. We'll see when it started, who promoted it, and why it did fall. A lot of times people blame Vince McMahon for the fall, but really that is not what happened to the territories. I think Jack said this one time. You said it didn't explode, it imploded.
Yep.
And most territories did do that. It was never Vince McMahon. He did help a little bit. He did kind of help them along, but it wasn't completely Vince McMahon's fault. If you're liking this video, give us the big thumbs up and subscribe to the page, and hit that notification bell. It lets us know that you like what we're doing, and it will notify you every time we put a video on. All right, guys, let's go talk to the insiders, and then we'll finish tonight up. Let's see. There are a lot of people came in. We already said Mike said you had his name right. He did not say, Jack, that he was going to send you any.
We'll talk about that later.
Victor Nash said they should have kept the rule. If you throw somewhere over the top rope, you get disqualified. Jack?
I agree with that.
Rod?
Absolutely. But they've thrown most all rules out.
Kevin Finley said that, so Roy Welch never owned Florida. I don't believe he did. No.
Buddy Fuller did it one time.
Yeah.
And Lester Welch.
He did not, because Cowboy Luther owned it first, and then Eddie Graham bought into it, and then they were Buddy did own parts of Florida, and actually Georgia as well. Richard Hood, Eddie Graham was a wrestling mind. He showed Dusty how to be Dusty. Yes, he did. Daniel Lang, Eddie Graham sent Bob Backlund to Vince Sr. when he wanted an All-American boy to replace his brother, superstar Billy Graham. That's true as well. Michael Barr, what territory was Ox Baker in? Oh, he was in a ton of territories.
All over the place.
A lot of places.
He was in
Super nice guy, too.
and was funny.
Yes.
He was one funny man. I think he missed his calling. I think he should have been a comedian.
Yeah.
Is there a territory he wasn't in?
That's right. No, I don't think there was.
Yeah, he was in every territory. He was him and the French Angel was the Southeastern Tag Team Champions for a while in Knoxville. Daniel Eddie Graham actually wanted Steve Keirn to be the champion because his dad was. Yes, he did. But Vince did not want Steve Keirn, so he wanted Bob Backlund. Mike said that was some good stuff back then. I keep up by buying the magazines back then. That's what you could become a star if you were on the magazines.
Yes.
By just being on the magazines. And that's the reason there have been so many people. And I think that's one reason Southeastern Continental the people wasn't as big stars because they never on the magazines. They never had the guys show up there and take pictures and stuff.
Yeah, well, my understanding was that the Fullers didn't want the magazines covering them. They wanted to kind of keep a lid on everything for whatever reason. I don't know what that reason was for, but they didn't want to partake with the magazines that often.
I think it's because they had the same finishes in every town. I don't think
probably.
They will know if they were doing that. Michael Barr, Southeastern Championship Wrestling was a great territory and ran for a long time. Yes, it was a great territory. Daniel Lang, you're right. They were both in Florida at the time, and there is a video of them working out together where they were doing very athletic exercises. Victor Nash, Florida Southeastern has a new card in January. Is that the?
I believe that's what. Well, I was going to say that's the one in Dothan, but I think they're actually using the Continental name, so I'm not really sure.
Pat Rose said, "Check your messages."
That's you, Brent.
There,
Pat Rose has got something he needs to say.
Evidently, he does. We'll see what he's got to say.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I've got Bo James up there. I got Ole Anderson's book, Bill Dundee, and then I've got this one with Sputnik Monroe, Mass Mids, and Small Peoples.
Oh.
What it says right there, the early days of Memphis wrestling.
That's a good book, by the way. If you've not read that book is tremendous read. It is a tremendous read. Douglas Taylor on our YouTube channel. My favorite territory was Mario Savoldi's International Championship Wrestling that brought in wrestling stars from Texas, Florida, Mexico. I saw it, all the greats. Yeah, Mario Savoldi was a very nice guy as well. We actually had in 1989, I think it was, or 1988, we were trying to get a working relationship with him. And actually, we had it working. For some reason, it all fell apart. Maybe he went out of business before we could do that. But we were going to bring a lot of his wrestlers to Continental, but that just didn't work out for some reason.
Yeah, I worked for him in '85. I never got to meet him, but I worked for his promotion for a few shows.
You probably met Joe, didn't you, Joe Savoldi?
I believe so. Yeah, Joe was there, I believe.
Great show. Thanks, Rodney, Jack, and Brent. Glenn Allen said Sam. I'm not for sure.
Sam, I am.
Do I?
Sam, I am.
Dr. Philbo Christ said, if memory serves, Dothan was the market I grew up around. Big business through the full years and then went downhill afterwards. Yes. Yeah, that's
one of the reasons was when the formula was broken where you had the live TV show there in the afternoon and then the show that night, it destroyed. This is something that was repeated in just about every market that had its own TV show. It happened. And the fact of the matter is that TV production didn't cost a lot. They could have continued to do it, but they chose to do it like everybody else, consolidate, make one show fits all in it. And in the end, the only really show that remained consistent for years was Jarrett in Memphis. Only one that really survived.
And remember now, the territory did go down under the Fullers too. It was not doing great business when it was sold to David Woods. And most times you do not sell a territory when it's doing great business. So you're going to do it when you're losing money or not doing that well.
And it was going to take a new. It was going to have to take a new amount of revenue and resources to be put in because everything had to be updated. Not just because of Vince McMahon, but in television in general, they demanded bigger, better productions, and it's just the way it was.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that went on during that time that we could talk about. Especially, everybody likes to blame David Woods for the territory going down, but it was not David Woods' fault.
No,
it was to a certain extent. He bought a company and didn't put a dime into it, which made no sense. Why would you buy something and never put no money into it? But business was down before he got it. So Douglas Taylor said, I saw guys like Blackjack Mulligan, Abdullah the Butcher, Dory and Terry Funk, Kevin Sullivan, Bob Backlund, Ivan Putski, Jules Strongbow, the Purple Haze, and so many others. Great names right there. Well, now Rodney won't like Kevin Sullivan, Douglas, but we'll
Kevin Sullivan prior to working with Mark Lewin was okay.
He was. He really was.
After that, it was he and Mark Lewin that done me in, and then after that, him and Steve Kern finished it off.
Why do you think Wrestling 2 went to the WWF at the time? I think he really believed that they were going to do something with him. Yeah. Man, they just made him like he was a job guy by the time he
horrible.
I mean, they treated him horrible. I don't think he's liked Vince McMahon ever since that. That was just horrible. Richard said, fellas, it was really one promotion back in the day, and that was the NWA. They didn't want to break any antitrust laws, so they broke it up into 3 promotions, the AWA and the WWF. There's a couple of more things about that. Vern Gagne wanted to be a heavyweight champion. They didn't want Vern Gagne to be the heavyweight champion, so he pretty well developed his own company so he could be champion. But it's been done. So there's a couple other stories we could tell you about that. We might in a future episode of what was going on during that time. There was so much going on. Gotta love Ox Baker. Yes, you do. His interviews were so good. There was nobody better. There's a video of Ox Baker on The Price is Right. Yes.
Yeah. That is awesome.
I've seen that.
Glenn Allen said they had disputes over champions that broke. Yes.
We reviewed that when you were on vacation the last time, me and Jack on the World Champions, and we reviewed the part of the reasons that they broke away.
Douglas said, not to mention, I got to see like Les Thatcher, a great wrestler and a great commentator, Dominic DeNucci, and King Curtis.
King Curtis. I love that. Great interview, King Curtis.
Buddy Rogers and Gagne. They had a lot to do. Those 2 guys right there had a lot to do with the WWF and the AWA. Those 2 guys were very instrumental in that happening. Michael Barr, remember watching that years ago. Paul Ante, Frank Tunney, and then nephew Jack had a good promotion in Toronto.
Yep.
Oh man, that was tremendous.
Yep.
I love seeing their stuff. If you get to watch their stuff online, make sure you see that. Some good stuff. Was it Backlund sent to Vince Sr. on the bet by him and Eddie that Vince could get Backlund over? Oh, I see there. Pat Rose. He wants us to. Camden's got a new song coming out on January the 1st.
For anybody who hasn't heard, and you need to get out from under that rock if you have, Pat's son Camden is an up-and-coming, really, really sensational country music singer. And he's got a brand new single that's coming out January the 1st. I'm sure if you go to Pat's page when it comes out, he'll provide those links and everything. I know I will on my page, and mine's public. So you guys hit it, Friday, and I'll have that link up there. But some great music. Camden does a great job. The boy's going to be somebody one of these days.
And we will also post it on the Facebook page and let everybody know about it as well. So we will do that. I will actually put it on later on tonight, and that way people can because I have seen him. He is very good. I have seen his stuff. So Glenn Allen said, Sam Muchnick, Yes, he was great, no doubt. And William Trotter, mine was J.T. William. Who is J.T. William? I'm not for sure who that is.
Not sure.
Victor said, Rodney, you don't have Kevin Sullivan and Brent Shields books.
No, I missed out on that.
I don't even know who Brent Shields is.
I do have Sullivan's. It's here on the floor.
Pat Rose says, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Pat. We
should try to play a clip. I wonder if we can play a clip without getting in trouble. I'd like to see it.
Do what now?
I wonder if we could play a clip of his song.
I wouldn't see why we would get in trouble for it.
Pat, you wouldn't write us up or report us if we play a clip of his music on here, would you? We have some people that will do that, and then tell us that they didn't do it. Oh, I'll have to apologize again.
Contact attorney.
Probably as soon as we get up and we can add more shirts to the ProWrestlingTees.com collection, will be Rodney Turned Heel. Just in white letters, Rodney Turned Heel. And you can wear it every show.
Joe Bateman is with us right now. How you doing? And he said, at least you're not sitting on it.
I wasn't. It didn't take long, though. Once that flush was over with, it's gone.
Joe Bateman also shared your stuff. I guess he shared but we will share Pat Rose's son's record, because I did see it the other day that it was going to drop, as they say, on January 1st. Guys, we are still working on a Pro Wrestling Tees of getting our own little shop. But if you do want to go to Pro Wrestling Tees and buy a T-shirt, you can do it. You go to ProWrestlingTees.com, search Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, and the 3 designs, not the shirts, the 3 designs of shirts are up there, and you can purchase them from Pro Wrestling Tees. And Jack, some great shirts.
Yes, they are. Quality. That's what they're known for. There's a ton of stuff on there. Once you buy all of ours, feel free to peruse all the other thousands of shirts that are on there. And by the way, a lot of the guys I know, Mick Foley and CM Punk, and there seems like there's another one, but they're everything that is sold of their shirts for the next month will go to the family of John Huber, who passed away, who was Luke Harper on WWE. And which is great. Pro Wrestling Tees are not taking a cut. They're sending every bit of money that comes in to that family. So it's a great cause. ProWrestlingTees.com is an awesome company.
Well, go to that and buy those. What was it, the 3 people again?
CM Punk, Mick Foley, and I can't remember the other. Now I know that Collar and Elbow is also doing a shirt. I saw it today. Just a beautiful shirt in tribute to him. So there's all kinds of shirts and stuff out there, ways to help raise funds for this family right now.
Well, go out there and do that, and even do that before you buy a Pro Wrestling Inside Out T-shirt. That's more important than buying a Pro Wrestling Inside T-shirt. Daniel Lang said the phones are ringing off the hooks at Rodney's lawyer's office.
Right.
Victor Nash said, where do the proceeds go to you guys on Pro Wrestling Tees? Yes, we do get a portion. They get a portion. I don't remember at this point what the actual portion is, but it's a good deal. Plus, we wanted a place that developed good T-shirts.
Yeah, and they were cheaper than the place we were using before also. So
yeah, so get
helps.
over there and do that. I guess Doug Gilbert having a birthday today.
Yep.
Dangerous Doug Gilbert. So a happy birthday to him. All right, guys, anything we need to discuss? You
made it the whole show, and right here at the end, you flubbed.
Talk about before we leave today.
I think we pretty well covered everything right now. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. We hope the next time we'll be talking to you will be the first of the year, 2021, and we're hoping 2021's better than 2020. Rodney, anything we need to talk about before we leave?
I think I'm all done here. My work here is done.
This is true. Your work is done. Thank you so much for being a part of this for the whole
Victor, there's not a chance. No.
What did Victor say?
No, Victor. No, I will not be turning anytime soon. No.
Victor also said we need to make our shirts and get all the profits. Victor, there's so much work into that.
Hey, I've done shirts before. That is so much work. And I just, I don't know that I could actually do that. We did it for about a year, 2 years, and it just was too much work. Even just a simple shirt like Badge Street that he's got on, that was a hard shirt to do because you had to go over and do 2 or 3 different, because to get it that red was very, very difficult. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. We want to thank everybody for 2020. We have almost 16,000 Facebook insiders and followers, and we appreciate that you have shared and told people about Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Also on our YouTube, we're at 1,040 subscribers now, and we certainly do appreciate you, and we appreciate everyone who has watched our videos. 2021, a lot of things we're going to be doing a little different. I think you will enjoy it. And until then, until we see you on the other side, 2021, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next installment of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out.